Okay, so as a guy who makes a point out of getting at least 10,000 steps every single day and complains about it constantly, this movie is my absolute nightmare. The Long Walk is the latest Stephen King adaptation, and it follows a group of teenage boys as they compete in an annual competition known as the Long Walk, where they must maintain a certain walking speed until only one of them remains. So I'm a total sucker for pretty much anything Stephen King related. I read a ton of his books in college, and I've seen countless movies based on his work. Basically, if it has something to do with vampires, haunted hotels, or supernatural clowns, I'm there and I'm probably having a ball, honestly. But sometimes people forget how impressive a lot of his non-horror offerings are, like The Green Mile and The Shawshank Redemption. The guy's got some serious range. So when I heard that they were making a film out of one of his most grueling stories, I was expecting a pretty tense experience that was gonna leave me emotionally drained by the time the credits rolled. And I feel like I'm on my own island with this one because people have been calling this film the best King adaptation in years, but unfortunately, The Long Walk just wasn't executed well enough to earn that title from me. When it comes to the story they decided to go with, it's basically a dystopian society where there's a competition every year that 50 kids sign up for willingly, and they just have to keep on walking until everyone else gets their ticket punched and you're the last man not pushing up daisies. It's easy to see why our director here, Francis Lawrence, would want to take a crack at this story because it has a lot of thematic similarities to the Hunger Games franchise, and he was the man behind the camera for the vast majority of those films. But you've got a competition with deadly circumstances, people from all over the world are watching, everyone's competing for a better life. That's exactly in his wheelhouse. But just because the story centers around bleak and emotional subject matter, it doesn't mean that it was handled and executed in the most impressive way. A big part of the issue here is the actual script itself. It definitely hits those emotional beats nicely and injects a fair bit of tension into this rigorous competition as the story goes on, but I found a lot of the overly aggressive chit-chat between the boys to be pretty insufferable at times. It just seemed like it was trying to be overly edgy and use profanity as a crutch more than as a real stylistic choice. Top it off with the story ending up being kind of predictable and some interesting ideas left unexplored, and I was definitely left wanting more in that department. When it comes to the performances in this movie, Cooper Hoffman and David Jonsson are the two characters this story is really centered around, and they act as the emotional core of this high-stakes competition. You actually want to learn more about them, and most of the group for that matter, but it's their relationship specifically that pulls at the heartstrings, since you obviously know, because of the nature of this whole situation, that they're not gonna both be having a happy ending when this twisted mess is over. But they both do some really good work here, David Jonsson especially, who just continues to prove every time I see him in something that he is the real deal. For the most part, the other guys that are walking along with them do a solid enough job. There are definitely a few weak spots in there, which is to be expected with such a cluttered and young ensemble, but by and large, they come off as a relatable bunch that you want to root for. Mark Hamill plays the emotionless and over-the-top military figure that's more or less the host of this entire competition, and if your dad ever told you to be more of a man or to rub some dirt on it at any point during your childhood, then you pretty much know exactly who this guy is. In some moments, he might be doing a bit too much, but the character ends up being an effective reminder of how messed up the world we're spending time in is. We need to talk about some of the actual violence depicted in the movie, because some scenes in here actually surprised me with how much they ended up showing. What I found interesting wasn't the specific acts that were carried out on screen. It's much more about how up close and personal the camera got you to them. Now let's put that in perspective here, because people get shot in movies all the time, and I'm no stranger to aggressive and disgusting violence in film, to the point that my own family probably thinks I deserve to be in a straitjacket, but it's honestly been a while since I've seen this many people get capped at point-blank range up on the silver screen. Unfortunately, the movie does kind of move away from showing that level of brutality in detail as the story rolls on, making some of the later deaths feel a little less impactful and jarring because of it, but there's still plenty of gruesome violence in here that will make the real bloodhounds take notice. Overall, guys, The Long Walk is a decently intense drama that transports you right inside the twisted competition of a dystopian landscape. The performances from our two leads carry a lot of weight and get you attached to their characters from the very start, but the banter between the larger group isn't great and doesn't have you invested in the well-being of the supporting cast. All the components are present when it comes to the setting and camera work, but the secret sauce must be missing because it didn't leave nearly as much of a lasting impact on me as I was hoping it would. The Long Walk gets a Sully score of 3 stars. So that's my review of the latest Stephen King adaptation. What's your favorite movie of the last decade that's based off his work? I think I have to go with It Chapter 1 from 2017, but let me know in the comments below what you think. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys at the next one.